actually improve your spiritual practice and your mindfulness practice using your environment. How can you improve or amplify your environment to support your spiritual awakening and your spiritual growth? Well, spiritual growth and personal growth is one of the most incredible things that you can do for yourself. And it really is a journey to your soul. And your environment is also another temple that you have. And when you start to use your environment to support you, and it will inevitably support you and your spiritual growth and spiritual evolution. So today I'm going to share with you 5 ways that you can use your environment and set your environment up to support you with your spiritual growth and spiritual practices. The first thing I would say to you when it comes to your spiritual growth and practices is to become really conscious of your environment. So with spirituality and our spiritual practice, we're taught to become mindful of our thinking, our emotions, our feelings, and really become the observer. And the very first thing I would say to you is become the observer of your home. Really start to dive into this beautiful exercise called fresh eyes. Oftentimes, it's our unconscious that has decorated and created the environment that we are living in. So when we start to become conscious of the items in our home, we may see that they're actually blocking or stopping our growth and evolution. So this is an amazing exercise called Fresh Eyes. And when it comes to doing this exercise, it's really very simple. You start at your front door, my favorite place when it comes to start with Feng Shui, and you imagine you have a new set of eyes, that you're a brand new person walking around your space. And as you walk around your space, really start to take time slowly to investigate every little area, all the little nooks and crannies. Look at, why do I have these books on this bookshelf? Are they a symbol of where I want to go with my life, what I want to create? Are they supportive of my spirituality? A couple of months ago, my husband and I were doing another rejig of our home, as I'm always doing. And I looked at some of the books that were in they just happened to be, it's the only place that we have a shelf in our house here in Greece for books. So I was looking at the books and I'm like, this is our love and marriage area. What books have I got? And a lot of them were about spirituality and personal growth, which is exactly what we're into. But I thought, I really want to position them in a different place. And I do have a video about the location of your spirituality area that you can check out. But I found a book in there that was one by Edith Edgar called The Choice. And it was of her journey in Auschwitz. And I just thought, in my relationship area, do I want a book about somebody who's been in Auschwitz? I thought, no. And this is because unconsciously we just place things in different places. Like we just kind of like, that's where the shelf is. That's what I'm going to put there. So really with fresh eyes, when you do this exercise, you can walk around and look at the books and think, oh, these books, like, do they represent where I want to go, what I'm creating? And even regardless of what the area it is, but are they uplifting for what I'm doing in my spiritual practice? And if they're not, like if they're all war books or fighting, and that's just one example, you could kind of say, okay, I'm going to let go of some of those. Then move around and look at the artwork in your space. So it is a really great and beautiful for us to have, spiritual art. But the location of the spiritual art has to be very, respectful. Be as respectful as you can be with where you're going to place it. So I wouldn't, as you walk around and look at the art, just think, does this art represent what I want to create in my life? Does it inspire me? Does it make me feel good? Because essentially we're doing our spiritual practices to feel good, to make our lives feel better, you know, to be able to help, to, you know, as one yoga teacher shared with me years ago, was like, we do yoga to keep ourselves fit and healthy so we can help other people. So of course, if the artwork is very depressing or miserable or, you know, downtrodden, you doing all of these beautiful spiritual practices but having artwork that reflects it is not going to be helpful. I remember speaking to a lady on a podcast interview, and she was telling me about a friend of hers who was going through a very difficult period in his life. And she was on the phone and she was chatting to him, and she said, you know what, I'm going to call over. So when she got over to his place, all the paintings on the wall were of people who had died. So Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, all of these very, very, you know, people who had gone through tragic, difficult times and had lost and you know, given their lives up to suicide. So his art was really kind of creating this energy. So be really mindful of the art that you have in your space. Now, the consciousness around the location of spiritual art, I don't recommend having spiritual art in your bedroom. Your bedroom is a place for rest, romance, and relaxation. And I also don't recommend having an altar or a spiritual area in your bedroom. Now, if it's the only space in your house that you have this, I think this depends, you know, maybe you do have space that you can have a beautiful personal yoga meditation space. And if you do have that, amazing. But if you don't, can you set some boundaries around it? You know, I had a client who had a massive altar beside her bed, and herself and her husband. So it was like her husband, and this massive altar on the other side of her. And when I spoke to her, we walked around her house and we were able to find a new place to move that spiritual altar. And when we did it, she messaged me a week later and was like, Patricia, I can't get over this. She's like, things have shifted so much for the better with me and my husband. And I was like, of course. Well, you know, there was 3 people in the relationship, you know, your spirituality and your husband and yourself. So being mindful of the location of your spiritual art is important. Now, if it's the only place it can be, like in terms of your altar, can you cover it? I have a client who has a little screen in himself and his wife's bedroom, and he has like his meditation cushion and his yoga mat and his all kind of little bookshelf in that corner. But it doesn't distract from their bedroom being their place of rest, romance, and relaxation. So the next thing I would say to you about your spiritual practice, you've done fresh eyes, you've looked at all of the items, you know, do they represent where I'm going? You've also kind of looked at the artwork. Creating a sacred place is a beautiful practice, and having a little altar is beautiful. And it doesn't necessarily need to have spiritual statues per se. It could just have some things from nature. You know, for me, spirituality and spiritual growth is really about acknowledging the beauty and the nature, and Feng Shui is all about flow and all about connecting to the flow of energy and nature. So maybe it's bringing fresh flowers in, bringing some plants in, and really bringing things in that you appreciate. So having a little altar of just maybe pictures of your family, some flowers, some you know, mementos of things that were really positive experiences for you can really enhance you, and you could spend that as your little meditation area. In terms of other things for spirituality, I would definitely recommend doing a regular space clearing in your home. So a space clearing isn't necessarily Feng Shui. It's when we do Feng Shui, it's acupuncture for your home. So I will often work with my clients to send me a personal report, send me the information of their home, and then give me the specific details, and I will tell them, well, this is going to harmonize this area of your home and this area and this area. It's like the special needles going to the different points. But space clearing is a beautiful practice. So you can use sage, you can use rose water, you can use different like scented mists. You can also use Palo Santo, incense. And why would you use that? Well, everything is energy. And when you start to use those beautiful sacred scents, or even light a candle to kind of clear the space, or use sound, it will lift the energy up out of your space. So that can be a really lovely practice to have. And even before you sit down to do your practice, that you light a candle or you do your incense and you've like a little area for you that's dedicated for you for your spiritual practice. And then the other thing I would say to you in terms of supporting you with your spirituality is decluttering. And I really do, you know, if you've seen any of my videos, I'll talk about it a lot, but I do recommend making sure that especially where you're going to be sitting doing your practice, is very clear, very open, as open it can be, and that if you're finding difficulty in reaching the next level in your spiritual growth or evolution, definitely go to a space that has a clogged up energy in your home that could just be cleared out a little bit, and it could be just reorganized, you know, the kitchen pantry or your wardrobe or your underwear drawer. Do one space that kind of like feels a little bit heavy, lighten that, and it can definitely ripple effect back into your own practice. And just on that, like in my own home in Ireland, our spirituality area happens to be our laundry room. And I just laugh because Ken and I, when we're really doing our spiritual practices and doing our regular meditation, I'm going to my yoga classes or practicing myself and you know, feeling really good, that area is like always super organized. And I'm lucky that upstairs it is a place where I can put my, we have a beautiful white tower tanka, like a piece of spiritual art, and it suits that part. But if that area gets like completely full of stuff, I just know it's just talking to me. So our house is speaking to us. So I would highly recommend, just from my own experience, like any place that's feeling a bit clogged, if you're finding it difficult to kind of grow or move to the next level, do a review of your home. It'll definitely make a difference. I hope you've enjoyed this video. You can go check out the other videos about doing space clearing. I have one about how to do a space clearing. I have another video that's all about the spirituality area as well.